fight that is really against all advantages on his side. He has no advantage on his side. Like, think about the weight cut that he has to do, right? He has to have uh, a hydration clause, meaning that he can't get over 10 pounds after the day of the weigh in, right? So that means he has to weigh in and then maintain weight after the weigh in. For those of you that understand it from a mixed martial arts perspective, when it comes to weighing in, you only weigh in once and that's it. There's no hydration clause or anything like that. But these are things that they do put up in boxing, which is, yeah, a bit different than, yeah, than other combat sports, in particular MMA.
Has he been wasting all of his money on hookers? Has he been wasting all of his money on cocaine? Has he been investing money into pyramid schemes? Has he been investing money into Anthony Joshua's property triangles? Where is all this money gone? Because for me, and I can't understand this, and that's the
Now that's a good question, right? What is his whole entire purpose of taking this fight? Because in reality, Chris Eubank really doesn't need this fight other than a family legacy. And by the way, even that alone, his family is already up on the scoreboards because I believe him and Ben had a draw. And then hold on, let me confirm and make sure this, right? Eubank versus Nigel Benn. Okay. Eubank versus Nigel Benn fought twice in the 1990s, with Eubank winning the first fight and then the second fight ending in a draw. Okay, so their son Eubank is scheduled to fight. Okay, so once they fought twice. The first time it was Chris Eubank that won, and then Nigel Benn comes up with a draw right afterwards. So that tells you that they're up on the scoreboards, right? The family, they don't need to be in this fight, which is why I say that the only reason why he's taking this fight is because of the family names that are attached to it. So if it wasn't for the family names, I don't think there would honestly be a fight, right? Because if you really look at it from this perspective, right? Nigel Benn I'm sorry, Conor Benn has never fought for an area title. He's never fought for a British uh, title, a Commonwealth, not even an international belt. Maybe he has, but he just skipped right on through that without being tested. And now he's fighting at the world level. And in particular, Chris Eubank. Now, Chris Eubank, we can all argue that he wasn't really a world champion, that IBF or IBO is not really a world championship. John Mitch asks, "Who are you?" Well, I am an MMA podcaster. And what are you talking about? I'm talking about Chris Eubank missing weight this morning. So, have you heard of the new Chinese boxer? So, yeah, okay, that's a good one, Osama. Yes. Okay, so shout out to John Mitch and Usama, Asama for tapping in. Shy Gun Bata says hello. Hello, how are you doing? My name is Ching Chong. Okay, that's very good. I didn't know you were from China. I don't really know where a lot of you are from, so please write in the comment section where you are from. Thinking of grabbing some up dog for lunch. He's some young guy. What's up, dog? Mitch. Are you Chiga? What exactly is a neutron? What exactly is a Chiga? But anyways, not much. What about you, dog? Oh, just chilling. Joe Johnson tapping in. Yeah, man. Chris Eubank this morning missing weight, and we've got some serious problems. Well, you know what? The good news is the fight is still going on, and there's a UFC component to this. That's cool, bro. Shout out to you, John Mitch. If you want, I could give you a bit of a biography on myself for just a second. Do you know Up Daddy? No, I have no idea who that is. You're looking like a new Disney product. I don't understand what the commentary on that. Are you referring to how I styled my hair or what, Neutron? But yeah, Khabib is sitting beside me right now. Shout out to Homelander. Uh, John Mitch says, "What's up, Daddy?" So this fight should not really be happening, right? But it's on demand. 70,000 people are going to show up at Tottenham Spurs Stadium. On top of that, two of these guys are only doing it for the family legacy, as of what I've mentioned, right? Because Chris Eubank has never been a world champion. He's fought at world level, although some will argue whether he's a world champion or not. The IBO championship is sort of in contested waters, right? Osama says, "Who is your favorite MMA fighter?" Don't really have one. I like all of them, but I do train with a few known names, known pretty known names in the past. So maybe they are my favorite. I've trained with Uriah. I've trained with TJ Dillashaw. I've trained with Chad Mendez out here in but I do like the Muslim guys. Obviously, I like Khabib, Kamzat, Islam, all of that. So hopefully that answers your question. Nice, Team Alpha Male. Yeah, yep. But now it's a completely different Team Alpha Male now. Obviously, there's new up and coming guys. There's guys from around the world. They got guys from Wales. They got guys from China coming in. They got guys from Japan. They got guys from Thailand, from across the United States. So Jigsy Workshop says, "I hope Eubank spanks Ben nicely and early." Yeah, I think that he will. And you know what? This is why I added UFC on the description and also on the hashtag, because there is a UFC element to this, and let me explain how. Right? For example, every time in the UFC, whenever somebody misses weight, they obviously have to pay, right? There's a pay that they have to do, a fine. Right now, according to Adam Catterall from the Fight Disciples and TNT Sports, he says that Chris Eubank is now going to pay a hefty fine of $500,000. So he has to pay $500,000 based on missing this weight. Now, obviously, in MMA and the UFC, the fight purses are not that big, so therefore the fines are not that big, right? You do get fined in mixed martial arts, and oftentimes the reason why I brought this up is because when you do get fined in mixed martial arts, guess what happens? You end up winning most of the time. Most of the time, the guy that ends up missing weight is usually the guy that wins, especially in MMA, because obviously there's a grappling component to mixed martial arts. Having a lot of weight does have sort of an advantage, at least on the grappling side of things. Now, I don't know how much of that is going to play a factor in a boxing setting, obviously, but one can imagine it would still help Chris Eubank, because Chris Eubank is, well, you know what? He's fairly good. He's fairly at the world level, and Conor Benn is just simply not. He's not at the world level whatsoever. In fact, he skipped a lot of that in his career for one reason or another, for a multitude of reasons why he had decided to skip out on all those things. Obviously, it's a bit of a career strategy on the part of his family to do so, right? There's a reason why they're doing it. It's because there is a strategy behind that. And, well, you know what? Prize fighting is a strategy in and of itself, right? Especially if you have the right people around you, if you have the right parents. Obviously, it helps if they were former legends themselves. So they're going to navigate you through the best course of action, right? Because that is the name of the game in prize fighting, is get the most money for the least amount of damage. And sometimes the least amount of damage means that you take on lesser competition. So for those of you that are tapping in right now, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because we're going to go deep into this particular subject of Chris Eubank failing to make weight this morning.
First of all, I want you guys.
And Jigsaw says, Neutron says, what is the reason for this conversation? I watch WWE. Jigsaw says, it's a conversation about boxing. WWE is entertainment, not a sport. Very true. So understand that, right? Yeah, this is real fighting, right? And they have real consequences. So whenever anybody, I know it's a little bit off topic, but I'm sort of making it a topic, but whenever somebody complains about the fact that, oh well, you know what, why does weight even matter for this situation? Weight doesn't matter for this situation, or this and that. Neutron asks, are you from Japan? No, I am from California. But what do you call it? I just woke up, so that's probably why my eyes are looking a little, you know what I mean? So yeah, but on any regard, Jigsaw Workshop says no Israel. Well, at least some parts of it, I would assume, right? Jigsaw Workshop, right? You know what I mean? Some parts of it, but on any regard, yeah, 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 yeah. Uh, so okay, there is an obvious advantage here for Chris Eubank because he's already fought at the world level in ways that Conor Benn hasn't, and obviously Chris Eubank is the favorite going into this. Um, Neutron says, "I got an eighth Dan black belt." All right, that's what's up. Playboy says, "Free Israel." Shout outs to you. So let's get on with this right here.
Chat to let me know. I can see your comments right now. You want to make some comments? I'll read some of that in a second, but.
By the way, shout outs to Boxing Brexit. Okay, I thought that he was the first guy that I saw on YouTube make a video or a live stream about this. So shout outs to him.
Can I ask you a question, yeah? Chris Eubank Jr. is supposed to be the one with the upper hand in this fight. So why is he the one scrambling around like a fucking dickhead, trying to make a weight which we know is extremely difficult for him to make? He's going to get fined 500 grand. So he's lost.
Jigsaw Workshop says, I've got a nice fake Calvin Klein belt. Okay, so that I believe is a reference towards Neutron saying that he's an 8th-degree black belt. Okay.
$500,000, which apparently, according to Mike Coppinger, is going straight to Conor Benn. So you're giving
$500,000. I want you to put that in perspective. $500,000 Chris Eubank now has to pay Conor Benn. Now look, that's chump change for Chris Eubank. Okay, you guys know this. That's chump change for him, especially when what he's going to get paid for this fight. Now Conor Benn gets to go home with $500,000 on top of his fight purse. So mission accomplished. If this is exactly what you are gunning for in the world of prize fighting, because it is prize fighting by the end of the day. And by the way, Neutron, when you said you're an 8th-degree black belt, there are many black belts in karate and taekwondo, but not many of them got this right here. Right here, I won this when I was 12 years old. Okay, and it's still heavy as shit. And look, there's the date there too and everything. October 11th, 1997. So, yup, a little experience that I have. And then this right here, I won this bad boy right here. Right, I won that in 2010. Had to fight literally like 2-3 guys in one day just to win that. Legend Kyrie. That's, imagine what the purse is. Legend Kyrie. Yeah, shout outs to Jigsaw Puzzle for that commentary. Guys, there's 22 people in here at the current moment in time. Everybody hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because we're going to go deep into this particular subject and also talk about the drug uses that are prevalent in boxing and what exactly does that mean in today's day and age, right? What exactly does this mean?
Conor Benn at free $500,000, yeah? You're fucking killing yourself to make weight. You failed to make weight. And now, basically, you can't put on another 10 pounds for the next, 24 hours or so and so. For the next 24 hours, you can't even rehydrate or eat any food or hydrate properly. What is the point of this? Do you think?
So you see, that's what's crazy about this particular weight hydration clause thing, right? So you're already depleting yourself, and you're depleting yourself even more. Okay, as the fight day continues. UK boxing, especially with Matchroom, is rife with drug usage for sure. And you know what? They're going to hide it to the best of their ability. Reason being, they're going to hide it to the best of their ability is obviously because they want the fights to continue. They want the money. They want to have all the, uh, yeah, they want to have everything intact in terms of getting these fights through the door. That's what Eddie Hearn was trying to do the first time around. He was literally trying to get the fight through the door because of the fact that, you know what, this was going to be a big money fight. But, obviously the UK government stepped in and said otherwise. But 2 years later, here we are.
I think it's a fair question. I'm trying to understand what is the point of this? Why? Why would you take the fight? Why would you take the fight under these terms? Like, to me, it's always been clear. Conor Benn has always needed this fight more than Chris Eubank. You guys in the chat, you tell me right now in the chat, and I'll read your comments. Who needs this fight more? Eubank or Benn?
Jason Brophy. That's a cool name. Shout out to Jason Brophy. It's like saying you're a bro and you're a trophy at the same time. Shout out to you. He says, I want Ruiz versus Wilder. How about this? Ruiz Jr. might sign to Bare Knuckle FC. What do you think about that, Jason? What do you think about Ruiz Jr. going into Bare Knuckle FC? Maybe Deontay Wilder needs to get into BKFC. Can you imagine him and his knockout prowess going into that sport? Jigsaw Workshop says, Lee Wood not fought for 18 months. Why? Is he on a shadow ban? That's a good question, man. That's a good question. Why hasn't Lee Wood fought in a while? If you have any theories on that particular subject, write on the comments below.
Ben, to me, Ben is always...
Bro, I feel like tacos, shawarma are the same thing. Toxic gameplays. Wow, that's a very random comment right there. You feel that tacos and shawarma are the same thing. It's funny that you say that, right? So where do tacos come from? Maybe Mexico? Is there a Spanish derivative behind it? Also, take a look at Spain. Spain used to be a Muslim country. That was until obviously the Christians came in there and took it back from the Muslims. But yeah, that's the history behind it. So whenever you see a Latino and an Arab, sometimes it kind of resemble each other. Perhaps maybe that is just the remnants of the old Andalusian Empire, which was an Islamic empire in Spain at one point. So a lot of Mexicans are Middle Eastern too, like Salma Hayek. Okay, yeah, that's I think Salma Hayek is a bit unique in that case where she may be half, right? Not necessarily like a native of, let's say, a Latin American society of any sort, but I think probably half, or I don't know. I don't know much about these celebrities. You guys know more about celebrities more than I do. She's half Syrian. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so the name makes sense. Same with Steve Jobs too. Well, what exactly is Steve Jobs? I know that he's of European descent, maybe Jewish or something like that. But again, one never truly knows. But yeah, so who needs this fight more? Toxic Gameplay says he is white and Syrian. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, a lot of people are half Syrian for one reason or another, right? There's yeah, man. You know who else is half Syrian? Well, I don't know if I should say, but yeah, the man who orchestrated 9/11, I believe, is half Syrian. But yeah, that's neither here or there. Okay.
Always needed to fight more than Eubank. Conor Benn has never fought anybody legitimate in the sport of boxing, really. Who has he actually fought? This man has avoided every single step required, yeah?
Okay, here we go. This is exactly why I am playing this right here, right? I'm playing this for the fact that this is exactly what I'm trying to convey to you guys, is that Conor Benn needs this fight more than Chris Eubank does. 100% he needs this fight. Maybe Mai says, bro, are you Khabib? No, I'm not, but I am a Muslim, and that's probably why you say that, because well, we resemble each other's beards. So sometimes, I'll let my beard even longer, and then I'll cut it, just a little bit shorter, sort of like what Khabib and Islam have going on. But yeah, Chris Eubank Jr., Toxic Gameplay says, is becoming more gentle like his father, becoming more gentle. Now, I don't know about that toxic gameplays, right? I don't know if Chris Eubank Sr. has ever been known to egg somebody, you know, in like a press conference of some sort. So I don't know if I would draw that same comparison. Yeah, I don't know if I would draw that same comparison. Sorry about that. I had to screenshot this. Yeah, yeah. So that egg was crazy. That was crazy to do that. Uh, at the same time, I sort of get it because here's the thing: without that egg, this fight would have been the situation. Okay, so we're back on. Sorry about that. Had a
Okay, so
little
we're
bit of
back.
some technical difficulties there. Okay, so the bro, that egg was crazy. Then telling Nigel Benn, if your hand touches me again, it won't get you won't get it back was crazy. Yeah, so Chris Eubank needed to throw that egg in order to sort of make this fight happen. Okay, because if it wasn't for that egg, what I was trying to say before the stream had cut off a little bit was that he needed to do that to create interest. Without this egg or without this egg gate incident going on, right? This fight would have just been a fight where promoters are trying to get it over the line. There's a lot of controversies going on. There's drug cheats involved. There's corruption involved. Well, now Chris Eubank sort of mitigated a lot of that attention away from that situation and brought a whole new attention and interest to the fight based on throwing this egg. Toxic Gameplay says, but the whole gangster persona from Conor is laughable. You know what? Why is it laughable? Toxic Gameplays. Is it because it's laughable due to the fact that his dad is obviously a legendary fighter, grew up in luxury and things of that nature? I mean, is that the reason why it's laughable? Because if that's the case, here's something you got to understand, right? There's a lot of gangsters out there who have kids that become gangsters just based on trying to follow whatever it is that their dad does. One example of this is P. Diddy. Now, I know you guys are not going to like to hear this, right? And you know what? I mean, he's not exactly my favorite guy in the world either, but silver spoon or not, P. Diddy is or was a gangster in some kind of way, and you have to accept that, right? A lot of people don't want to accept that because obviously, if if you look at the situation of P Diddy, I mean, there's a lot of scandal involved. There's a lot of homosexual acts that are involved in the whole entire play. So it's hard to sort of label him a gangster, especially if there's even stigma that is involved in that particular world. But rest assured and understand, P. Diddy, whether you like it or not, is a gangster because he's done gangster things. Uh, Up until, of course, if he does decide to snitch on somebody in this situation, which isn't going on. So, Toxic Gameplay says he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. It's like Ti and his son. Yeah. Toxic Gameplays also says, did he do it? You know what? Speaking of Diddy, I don't want to make this about Diddy in any kind of way, but I think there's some reports saying that he could potentially get out. He could potentially get out of this situation, which is bonkers to really think about. But yeah, it's a reality that could happen for him because maybe they didn't have enough evidence. Maybe the feds didn't gather evidence correctly this time. Maybe they got a little bit too overwhelmed because it was, a high profile case. Uh, Aliyah Obaid says, you are also right. Okay, shout outs to Obaid for that one. Toxic Gameplay says, bro, you can really carry conversations, my man. Well, you know what? That's the reason why I have a YouTube, right? Is because I can carry conversations from one point to another. Now, most of these other YouTube content creators, I'm sorry to say, they're not conversationalists because, quite frankly, look, here's something you got to understand, right? In my real life, I am, a consummate professional when it comes to talking. Like, I literally talk for a living inside and outside of YouTube. Okay. So, in other words, I'm professionally trained to talk, right? I don't think most YouTubers are professionally trained to talk. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh to you on that one, Obeyed. So, yeah, we're most of them. Look, you guys know Tyann Booth, right? He's a UK boxer. By the way, he, a UK boxer I sort of have beef with, right? Uh, yeah, man. When you watch him, this is what his streams look like. That's what his that's what it looks like. It looks like just dead silence for a whole few minutes. You're never going to see me do that unless of course I'm on a live stream. Sometimes I will do that if I'm live streaming a fight because I'll just have the live stream going while I'm doing other things in the background or this and that. So I'm not always going to be there to talk, or I'll just play a video in between the fights or this and that. But if I'm engaging in a live stream, if I'm engaging in a video, man, you better believe that I've got some bullets in these in my mouth as a gun to shoot out as many rounds and ammos that I need. So King Nadish says that broke my heart, bro. What broke your heart? Well, this fight is still going on. So I hope if you said that your heart is broken, then yeah. Why do you sound so posh, bro? Well, that's a very good question, King Nadish. Now I know posh in the UK, the way that you guys sort of have your slang. Posh means bougie, right? Somebody who comes from an upper class background of some sort. Well, I'll tell you this, right? Let me just say that I've lived a pretty unique life in terms of posh, but also a little bit of hood. So I could delve into two worlds like that, right? In the posh world and in the hood world. And well, you know what? That's a recipe for somebody that needs to have a YouTube channel, don't you think? So this is the reason why I'm here, is because I need to have a YouTube channel. Let's be honest about this, right? A lot of people out there go and try YouTube because they're forcing themselves to be good at it. I'm naturally good at YouTube. It's what I'm made to do. I've been in front of people for decades now. I'm not afraid of public speaking. Most people, look, here's the thing, right? Most of your favorite YouTubers are afraid to uh, to public speak, but they're up here anyway. So you're both hood and rich. Mendoza Tapia says that's then maybe dress a little. So here's a weird thing about this, right? Miguel Martinez says, "Oh no." Here's the thing about this, Christian Mendoza Tapia. Uh, what exactly does that mean? Like, do you honestly think that having having it all means that, oh, okay, you know what, I'm going to dress in designers or this and that? Listen, here's the thing, right? A lot of you uh a lot of you perceive wealth and prestige as what you see your favorite rappers do. Let's be honest about this, right? King Nadish says, "I'm jealous of you, bro. No need to. I'm sure you probably live better than me. So Imagine telling a motherfucker who is in the house minding his own business to dress better. That's what I'm saying. I mean, Christian Mendoza is no, maybe shave and groom better. I don't follow any rappers. Well, here's the thing, right? That's coming from a guy who doesn't have a YouTube channel, doesn't really put himself on camera, doesn't have a profile pic to any degree, and then he comes in here and says this because here's the thing, Christian. The reason why you come in here and you say that boldly in a way that you would never say that to my face is because you're anonymous. Yes, you have a real name. I'm not going to doubt that's your real name. Sure, that's probably your real name. But the reality of the matter is, well, the reality of the matter is, you're anonymous, right? And you feel better saying these things just to feel better about yourself. Um, King Najish says he is Muslim and they are not supposed to shave. I think so. No, we are, but just on the top and this and that. And so this guy is over here trying to give me advice on grooming tips of him trying to look like a 12-year-old boy with a clean shave. You know what I mean? Like, this is what he wants me to look like right here, right? This is what I would look like, right? You look like a 12-year-old boy without, without a beard. But on any regard, Christian Mendoza says, you're the one claiming you're great at YouTube. Well, I'm not the one claiming that specifically, am I, Christian? You see, the reason why I had brought that up in the first place is because a few people on the upper comments were saying, you know what, you sound very posh or you sound very professional. A lot of people have said that I sound like a lawyer. So all these things, right? Um, you're a Muslim, you're not representing them very well. Well, once again, that is your own opinion. So, you know what I'm going to do with that comment alone, Christian? I'm going to give you a 1 minute timeout just based on that comment alone saying that I don't represent them very well or this and that. I mean, this is what trolls have to, have to go down. So, you say or this and that. Yeah, Christian Mendoza, this is the stereotypical internet troll that feels better about saying whatever it is that he wants to say just so he can, feel better about himself. But he has 1 minute to redeem himself and then you can come back. But yeah, send Christian to the corner. He's been a bad boy. Yeah, we just definitely sent him to the corner right now. He's got 60 seconds though. He's still watching this, but he's like, not able to type within those 60 seconds. I'm glad that they have, options for that. And then Red Gamer here with, I believe, some Chinese letters. I don't know what that says. If anybody wants to translate that, hopefully it's not anything dodgy. Although I shouldn't be responsible for anyone saying anything dodgy that's not in my language, right? So, but on any regard, we will see. So yeah, back to Chris Eubank, Christian over here pre-writing his comments. Yeah, man. Look, here's the thing. I'm not concerned about people that have no profile pics or anything like that because there's a reason why he is. There's a reason why he has a profile pic that he has a profile that has no profile picture because he wants to be anonymous and feel better about saying what it is that he wants to say. Toxic Gameplay says Kyrie is worldwide. I am, man. You know what? It's becoming a worldwide channel, isn't it? I got people from China now. I got people from Bosnia. I got people from Lithuania, all of that. So, Christian Mendoza, back. You're a terrible public speaker. You say and a lot. Well, Christian, here's the thing, right? Do you not realize that I really don't do a lot of that? Do you realize that I do that way less than most people? And by the way, that's a common thing that a lot of people do anyway. Bro, just leave, man. Yeah, see, people are telling you to leave, but you know what? I'm going to let you talk and I'm going to let you speak your mind just so you can look dumb in front of everybody. You don't have to watch it, Christian. That's what I'm saying. But he wants to entertain himself to feel better about himself. So I'm going to do exactly that. You can say that I'm a terrible public speaker or this and that, but you've never done it for a job. You've never done it for anything. You've never done it for YouTube. You have an opportunity to do so. Why don't you do it? Hey, Christian, why don't you put yourself in front of a camera? You won't do it because here's the thing. Read my previous comment, bro. Okay. King G says, as I've said, Eubank wins. They will say it was because of his weight. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen, right? I think the weight is going to be a factor in this particular fight. Good enough of a public speaker for you to stay around this long. That's what I'm saying. So, Christian, congratulations. You're getting roasted by not only me, but people in the comment section. By the way, shout out to everybody in the comment section below that represents, and not only that, taps in with me from around the world, and also that supports me online and supports me elsewhere from around the world. This is what happens when you try and attack somebody that tries to do righteous. Christian, you're anything but Christian, and you're quite frankly a disgrace to the Mendoza and the Tapia name. And by the way, I had beef with a kid named Kyle Mendoza in Jersey City a couple of years ago. You want to know what happened to him? Go ask what happened to him from Jersey City people, what I did to him, what I did to everything that he loved and everything that he stood for. Because if we met in real life, trust me, bro, you would have serious problems in your hands, and you don't know what you're dealing with, Mr. Christian Mendoza Tapia. You know what I should do? I should just go look up your IP address and find your address. How about that? What if I decided to do that? What if I decided to look up your IP address right now and then expose you to the world? Maybe even dox you a little bit so you don't know who you're dealing with over here, Mr. Christian Mendoza Tapia. Go ahead and talk again. Talk again and see what happens. See what happens, whether I berate you or whether some of these people out here berate you. Dude, it's too far, man. It's too far. What's too far? Me taking it like that? Listen, bro, I'm telling you right now, I am Mr. Take It Too Far. If you want to troll and you want to talk that smack, you better believe that I'm going to bring an even bigger smack to your face. And I'm talking about like power slap without you defending yourself and me slapping you and hitting you from one time and you going down. Which country are you from? The United States, California to be exact. But on any regard,
most British fighters go through a certain education, don't they? Southern area.
So this is what I'm talking about with Conor Benn right here. This is the reason why I played this with Boxing Brexit. Shout out to Boxing Brexit for letting us use his audio right here.
Commonwealth, British, European world, right? Conor Benn is skipped all of these fucking stages. The man's never won an area title. The man's never won a British title.
Robert asks, where did he? In prison, but who knows what his thing will be.
The man's had very, very questionable decisions in the past. We all know what happened in his fight with Cedric Payano, which he should have lost that fight, in my opinion, the first one, right? We all know Conor Benn, is basically skipped every meaningful.
Drizzy Goat says the battle of the fake gay bearded clowns. Is that right? So they both got fake beards? Is that correct?
Stage of his book.
King Nadish says, I thought it was Andrew Tate. Andrew, does he have a fake beard? I don't think he has a beard at all. I think he just has a goatee going on.
Boxing apprenticeship, right? He's skipped every meaningful stage. And other than knocking over a couple of questionable older fighters, like Chris Algieri, Chris Van Heerden, and such, what has he actually done in his career to actually have a fight of this magnitude? So I can't understand.
What does he say here? Conor got a new fake beard transplant. Looks ridiculous. No, I was talking about the audio. Oh, okay. The audio. No. This guy sounds way more British than Andrew Tate, I believe. Andrew Tate has more of an American accent, but you can hear remnants of British accent in it. But yeah.
Why Eubank has agreed to this fight and why Eubank has agreed to the fight on these terms? Conor Benn has just come off 2 failed drugs tests. Mate, for me, right, I'd be putting a clause in that.
Lovebug asks, when are you going to collab with Johnny Somali? It would be great for your channel, man. You know what? If Johnny Somali can keep himself out of prison, I'm sure we can definitely make that happen. I know he's a Muslim brother. Obviously, he's of Somali descent. So there's good banter that can come out of that, hopefully. You should position the camera better so your face looks thinner. Okay, I Yeah, well, thanks for the advice, Christian Mendoza Tapia. I mean, my man over here is giving me, camera advice. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong or anything like that. But yeah, man, uh, you should start your own channel if you have this much advice for. Yeah, I was named after a famous doctor, not the religion. Well, Tapia is not only a doctor's name. I don't know anyone with the last name named Tapia, to be quite honest with you, other than a boxer. But okay, if you're named after a doctor, shout out to you. So, yeah, that's a real Muslim. That's real Muslim of you. I don't understand what you mean by that. All right, 1 minute. I'm going to give you a 5 minute warning this time, so you can come back and talk again in 5 minutes, Christian Mendoza. So that's what it is. I have the power to do that. I have the power to do that because it's my page, and I'm the one that put in the work to have a page to have this kind of attention. And you're just a hater who wants to detract everything because you want to feel better about yourself with no profile. You're an anonymous little bitch. Okay, that's just really all there is to it. And I told you from the very beginning, if we were to meet in person, there is no way in hell you would say any of these things to me because I would violently destroy you in front of your family after we get into a confrontation. Really, no, I would really destroy you in front of your family, in front of everybody that you love, and I would absolutely degrade you as a human being and everything that you stand for. King Nadish asks, "Do I box?" I've fought MMA. I've fought in kickboxing. I've obviously done martial arts all throughout my life. And as far as boxing goes, I'm a boxing enthusiast. So yeah, Josh Willis says, "What the f? What exactly are you saying? What the f for?" Uh, the way that I like, respond to these trolls. What is there a better way of responding to these trolls than just? I mean, I don't know what it is. You know what it is? A lot of people don't like aggression, right? For example, if you were to walk in to a random room and you see somebody beating the heck out of somebody, right? The first thing most human beings who are soft in their hearts and their minds, the first thing they're going to say is, "Oh my God, what a violent person. He's beating the shit out of this person." But little do you know what that other person did to provoke that other person. And therefore, you just want to come up with conclusions in your mind like, "Oh, this is a violent person," or this and that. Or you walk into a verbal argument and you see one person yelling over the other, you're going to take the side of the person that is being yelled at because you don't know the text of the story. But yeah, that's really all there is to it. Assalamu alaikum. Drizzy Goat says, "I think Conor Benn after fighting Eubank won't be the same toxic gameplay." Says, "I agree." Lovebug says, "Nothing is wrong in supporting Johnny Somali as long as he repent and turned into a new leaf." I would hope so. You know what? I didn't really know much about Johnny Somali until the recent controversies that he had going on. But on any event, yeah, I hope that he does. I hope that he does rise above this and and does well. So, assalamu alaikum, my brother. Good to see you doing well. Thank you, my friend. You watch UFC. Okay, quit with the saying "boy" at the end. You can't just move up to 160, then drop down to 147 and still make 147 easy. Roy Jones. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that toxic gameplays, right? Because obviously Chris Eubank is now, uh, I think he's trained with Roy Jones in the past, not actively in this particular camp at least. But you would think that he would learn from him, right? You would think that he would learn somehow that, you know what, maybe this is not the right course of action to take. And even his dad sort of complained about this whole entire fight. Let me see if I can pull up. Let's see here. It says, "Hello, hello, how are you?" Drizzy with the smiling emoji. Lovebug says, "How tall and how big are you? Did you compete amateur or pro?" So I'm 6 foot. I've fought from 155, as low as 155, all the way to 170. The highest I fought was 180. So let's see. I've competed in amateur Muay Thai. I've obviously won, a state title in that one. That's this right here, right from July 10th, um, 2010. I've won that one. And then here from Australia, shout outs to Huz Sabi right there. Toxic gameplays. Is it good to ever use a knife in a street fight? Well, I tell you what, you know who you should ask whether it's good to use a knife in a street fight is Carmelo Anthony. You guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that case that has been going on, but yeah, Carmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf situation, right? It was, I mean, look, people are making it out to be a racially, motivated thing, but I don't know, man. I just think that these are two guys that are alpha males and they would have stood their ground on anybody regardless of race. And it just so happens that it was a white boy who got stabbed and killed. And that's just really all there is to it. And everybody made it about race. Even his dad, the victim's dad, said to the white nationalist, he's like, listen, you don't represent me. This has nothing to do with black on white crime or anything like that. And that's that. Toxic Gameplay says stabbed him because he tried to make a move. Yeah, and he warned him as well. So keep in mind, this happened in Texas, so there are self-defense laws that we can sort of, help in this situation. So bro stabbed someone and got 1 million, so it's a good idea. I mean, hey, you know what? The fact that it got national attention and news, I think, is a reason why he's making money off of this. And a lot of people are complaining, saying that, hey, you know what? This guy is in a cruise ship. This guy is out there, spending money from his GoFundMe and this and that. Guys, I got to tell you, it doesn't change the fact that he's still facing life for potential murder, and that's just really all there is to it. If I recall properly, you said you fought Bukout. No, I don't think I've ever said that and almost knocked him out. No, I don't think I don't recall ever talking about that. I recall talking about wrestling somebody who was on my high school team that was a state champ and then getting the best of them, but not Rod Tang or Bukow in any kind of way in Muay Thai. That GoFundMe was disrespectful. Toxic Gameplay says he's made more money than the victim's family. That's very true. BG Nguyen says USA where criminals get rewarded. I don't know about that. I think that's an overstatement. BG. I don't think that's really the case. I think this case is just unique because it had racial implications behind it. And as you know, anybody that is pro-black is going to support him in that particular matter. Will you be attending Chris Eubank versus Conor Benn boxing match at London? No, unfortunately. Abdul Rahim, England, Tottenham Stadium on Saturday. Have you won the magazine at Unified? No, but if you were Austin Metcalf, would you still have pressed the issue? So that's a good question, Toxic Gameplays. Here's what I would tell you about Austin Metcalf, right? And Carmelo Anthony. Now, I vehemently said over and over again, right, that I truly believe that it was just two guys standing on business. Okay, there were two guys that were standing on business, and that's really all there was to it, right? Now, you can stand on business, but you have to be prepared. Austin Metcalf was not prepared in this situation. He really believed in his mind that, you know what? I may be unarmed, but maybe I'm bigger than Carmelo Anthony. Maybe I'm stronger than Carmelo Anthony. Maybe I have more of a physical advantage than Carmelo Anthony, but he did not want to put it in his head that this kid could potentially stab you. And so he got stabbed, and that was that. He got caught lacking. And again, it's not about race. I don't think there was a racist bone in Austin Metcalf's body at all. His dad clearly is not a racist. His dad went against a white nationalist on a live stream. On top of that, I don't think that Carmelo Anthony or his family are racist either, because you look at his dad. His dad had a pretty good job. His dad lived in the suburbs, so these were black folks that were well assimilated into the suburban culture. So these are not people that are racist on any sides. Abdul Rahim says, my expertise encompasses doctoral level understanding of boxing, ensuring comprehensive knowledge of the sport, and you everything about boxing. I don't understand what you're trying to say there, Abdul Rahim. You're saying that you have a doctrine in boxing. That's interesting. I didn't know that you can have that, but in any regards, yes, interesting. That sounded like a chat GBT. Yeah, 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 yeah. Abdul Rahim did sound like a chat GBT on that one right there. So
And says Conor Benn has to make £135. What do you guys think? I'll go through comments and this. Why is Eubank accommodating this man? Why is he accommodating a man who's fought absolutely nobody in their prime?
well, to answer Boxing Brexit on that, he's accommodating him due to the fact that, hey, you know what? Uh, what do you call it? He knows that this is a big money fight, and so he's willing to comply to these particular issues so that, yeah, so that he can, yeah, garner money off of this matchup. Because Conor Benn, he's not the hard. It's not the hardest fight of Chris Eubank's career, but it's one of the most lucrative ones. And why would he say no to that? Lovebug says, "Do you think Mighty Mouse can be a champ in the UFC if he came back?" Yes, I honestly think that he can. But why would he want to? Considering that he's already accomplished everything. But yeah, he could walk into UFC right now and win a 135 or 125 title. So what's your best combo to instantly end a fight? Well, man, I don't know if there's one particular combo, right, to end a fight. And if you're talking about a street fight in that particular regard, right, it would mean a whole wide range of things. It could mean whatever situation is involved. For example, what type of situations present itself, right? So I wouldn't say that one particular combination is just going to end a fight, or what one particular combination I would use to end a fight. It would be various things. So, yeah.
Right? Has no record to speak of, has no British title, has no Commonwealth title. He has nothing. Does he even have a rank? What is it?
Mighty Mouse training death sentence is crazy. Yeah.
What are they fighting over? A ranking? Is there some kind of high ranking that Conor Benn has? Like, what does Conor Benn have?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? What does Conor Benn have that Chris Eubank wants out of this fight?
That makes Chris Eubank Jr. want to get on all fours and debase himself to this level. For what? What is the fucking reason? I don't understand it. Josh Ford says Eubank held all the cards after Conor Benn.
Lovebug asks, which one is worse, kick to the groin or eye poke? Both. But I think kick to the groin is worse. An eye poke, it depends on how worse it can be. It could be worse to where it just pokes you a little bit, or it just, yeah, straight up stabs you to where you could lose an eye. So Toxic Gameplay says, do you feel like fighters from the UK have an easy time fighting other UK fighters than losing in? Absolutely. I think there's a certain level that they try to compete in the UK, a certain pace that I think is a little bit different in American boxing. So, and you've seen it historically, right? There's very few UK boxers that beat top level American boxers. That's always been the story. I poke you, need your vision in a fight. Yeah, I would agree with that, BG Newman. Yeah.
Tests. Any fight should have had no weight conditions, not sure who's advising. I can't understand
I'll be
what
right
the
back.
fuck is going on here. I mean, we'll go and look at Conor Benn in a sec. If you look at Conor Benn right now, he weighed in, right, 4 pounds under 160, right? He's just made an extra $500,000. If you look at him right now, this is Conor Benn. This is Conor Benn right now in his dressing room, having a good old laugh because Chris Eubank Jr. has failed to make weight. This is what happens to people, right, who fail multiple doping tests in this country. Never ask me again why a fighter would take dope in the sport of boxing. The reason why a fighter would take dope or in the sport of boxing is right in front of your screen. Makes extra $500,000. This is what happens. Circumvents any form of ban, makes an extra £500,000, and is now fucking sitting there lauding it up on social media. Where the guy who hasn't failed a fucking dopes test is literally now starving himself to death to make a fight that should never be. Should never be. For what reason? Dazza, big up Dazza. He says Eubank is a greedy fool for agreeing to the dehydration clause. Dan W says it's for money and money only. Eubank sees it as an easy fight. Ben has been forced to take the fight because Hearn is desperate to cash him in. Michael Thompson says Ben has been smashing up super middleweight William Scott in sparring, but needs a weight clause for this fight. Look, I've got to be very, very careful what I say, yeah, because I have a lot of respect for Conor Benn, because at the end of the day, he is a fighting man who risks his life in the boxing ring, right? Whether you want to talk about failed drugs tests, that's a completely different subject. But for me, he always gets a certain level of respect because he's a fighting man doing something that I could never do, something that I'm not man enough to do, something that I'm not strong enough to do, something that I haven't got big enough balls to do, and he risks his life in the ring. So because of that, we must pay a certain level of respect to Conor Benn. But I want to say something very quickly before I read some of your comments here, and then I want you to tell me in the chat, do you agree with me, yes or no, and give me your comment. And I want you to understand, you hear what I've just said, yeah? I've just said we have to pay a certain level of respect to Conor Benn that we would to any fighting man who goes and risks their life in the ring. But I'm going to be 100% honest and say this. In boxing terms, Conor Benn is a fraud. Is that a harsh comment or not? Let's just go through it, right? Conor Benn's a fraud in boxing terms, right? He's a fraud, right? He has no record to speak of, right? The only reason he ever got a contract with Matchroom Boxing, right? He wasn't even a top amateur. He never. Not only is he skipped every single level of apprenticeship that every other British fighter would have done, in the amateurs, he was never a top amateur. I actually followed Conor Benn on Twitter when nobody followed him. I followed Conor Benn from day one on Twitter. I followed Conor Benn on day one, yeah, when this guy was a kid living in Australia. And he had a couple of amateur fights, like a couple of white collars, a couple of amateurs here or there, right? But nobody knew who he was. Nobody was blowing smoke up his ass. And he wasn't going to become a really professional boxer. There was no, fucking, oh, this guy is an incredible amateur. Oh, this guy's very...
All right, so eye poke, you need your eye vision. Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor don't need a third fight. So you guys heard all that audio from Boxing Brexit, right? What is the overall common theme, right? Eubank had a better career professionally than Conor Benn. Conor Benn, I mean, it's crazy because they classify Conor Benn as a real fighter, right? At least in comparison to, let's say, what's his name? Let's say, oops, let me turn on the light here real quick. Okay, there we go. We got the light on. So as I was saying, Conor Benn is no different than Jake Paul. Okay, it just so happens that Jake Paul had all these famous names that he had fought, but a lot of these names that Conor Benn has fought, I think they try way less harder than the actual opponents of Jake Paul, who were MMA fighters that realistically wanted to win. You see, a lot of these guys, they fight journeyman boxers. How many journeyman boxers has Conor Benn fought over the years? Right? Eubank Jr.'s father and him beefing is not right. It's not, but at the same time, you also got to understand Senior has a lot of head trauma going on. He's got a lot of problems with his situation. There's a lot of cognitive malfunctions that are going on. Out of nowhere, you would find Chris Eubank speaking in patois, in Jamaican accents, and then the next thing you know, he sounds like he is holding parliamentary procedures, as the Eubanks love to say. So, man, it's a wide range of things that's going on with Senior Eubank Senior, the only boxer who can pick his nose with his gloves on. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how that's possible. That's only possible with MMA gloves, right? And speaking of eye pokes, right? Why do we need fingers on the MMA gloves, right? Couldn't they just come up with a glove that kind of curves like this, that sort of turns your hands into fists while covering all of your fingers? I don't know, man. I don't know why they don't do that, or uh, yeah. But on any regard, um, Chris Eubank Sr. has a big nose. He had, oh, okay, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. So the whole big nose thing, I think, may have something to do with that. Okay, so okay, moving on with boxing Brexit.
No, he was picked up by Matchroom Boxing for one reason and one reason only. He was picked up by Matchroom Boxing on the strength of his second name. That's all he is. Yeah. So what?
And that's not that unusual. You see this in professional wrestling as well, right? Lovebug says you trained in MMA, Muay Thai, and kickboxing. Do you think you can take on Floyd Prime in a street fight? Hands down. There's a reason why Floyd has bodyguards. He knows that there are people out there that are more skilled than him in other departments other than boxing. And if guys can do more than just punch, Floyd would be in trouble. In fact, there's a video of Ryan Garcia in LA getting into it with some black gang member, and they were going to fight. This black gang member starts leg kicking Ryan Garcia, and he says, "Nah, I'm out. I thought we were just going to box." And this was all in Venice Beach. Okay, how about Bradley Martin, man? I would kill Bradley Martin, hands down, right? Bradley Martin is not a combat athlete to any degree. He's a bodybuilder. There is no way he could take me in a fight. In fact, I've beaten up guys that are the size of Bradley Martin. It's not really the hardest thing to get into. So
Is this about? I mean, in boxing terms, let's just call it how it is. Let's call a spade, right? The guy is an absolute fraud from top to bottom. Whether you want to look at failed drugs tests, whether you want to look at his record, who he's fought, if you want to look at who he hasn't fought, if you want to look at, the fact that he's never fought for a British, never fought for a Commonwealth, skipped a whole load of stages, the whole shebang. In boxing terms, this guy Conor Benn, no disrespect, he's got fraud written absolutely all over him.
So he's a fraud. Okay, so just don't take Bradley Martin's hat. Listen, I'm not out there for juvenile games or anything like that. But if that's what it takes, if let's say I really wanted to fight him and I wanted to get him to square up, that's probably what I would do. I would take his hat, but I'm not a thief or anything like that. I'm not a juvenile. I don't have a reason to go take anyone's hat or anything like that. But if he was suppress the issue, or if I was suppress the issue, I think that it would be a very bad day for Martin. Conor Benn winding up his shots will be his downfall. For sure, he's a bit of a swinger, isn't he? Lovebug says, how about you against 5 Puff Daddy, which should I enroll my first martial art? So Lovebug, I would say grappling. Even though I first started doing the striking before the grappling, so I did Taekwondo at a very young age, and then I followed it up with wrestling. But on any regard, I think grappling first is a lot better than learning how to strike first. And I'm going to tell you why. Because with grappling, you can fix a lot of your mistakes in striking, right? And also, it's a lot faster to learn striking than it is to learn grappling. Grappling takes almost a lifetime of experience to learn. So, yeah, I would start with grappling straight away, Lovebug.
From top to bottom. From top to bottom, there's so many unanswered questions. There's so many dodged questions. And what is this all about? What is this all about? What, so Nigel Benn can get his win back? Because let's be honest, guys. This is what it's all about, isn't it, right? Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. don't even have any beef. Let's be real, innit?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? What beef does Conor Benn and Chris Eubank really have other than family ties, right? Which again kind of shows you the quintessential aspect of gang generational beef, right? You look at all the gangs that are out here in Los Angeles or in across California, across the world. Most of these gang warfares, at least on the California side, from what I understand it to be as a family affair with generation after generations of kids bringing up or representing their hoods. I mean, this is literally the example of that, right? Two guys that don't have any beef but come from these two families, and therefore as a result of that they have to continue and carry on a legacy of rivalry. Bro, I know you're MMA, but the boxing content is lit too. Yeah, thanks, my man. You know what, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because here's the thing, right? A lot of people have told me, listen, don't do gang content, don't do boxing content. You're an MMA channel. But guess what? If I didn't do gang content or boxing content and other forms of geopolitical content, what would I be? I would have nothing more than just, a page of MMA that's really no different than anybody else. It's like rival samurai clans in the Edo period. Yeah, it is very similar to that. It is very similar to that in that degree, right? But yeah, that's a good point that boxing Brexit here makes, is that these guys are not exactly beefing with each other from the very beginning, but only through the family name.
Right, and I'll go through your comments in just a sec. I want to make it clear. That's how many people have been suckered into this absolute nonsense. These two lads don't even have any. But what's the beef between them, other than a failed drug test? Yeah, but what's the beef? It's all fraudulent. It's all fabricated.
I tell you what, the failed drug test really enhanced this beef. The eggs also enhanced this beef. But what's weird about that is that the eggs also enhance Conor Benn, if you know what I mean.
They don't have any beef for each other. What's this for? My dad beat your dad. No, let's tell it how it is, right? Nigel Benn has never gotten over the fact that he could never beat Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah? So his son is somehow now fighting for his dad's legacy. This is what this is all about. If you actually want to know what this is really all about, this is all about the ego of Nigel Benn. And Nigel Benn not being able to cope with being stopped in 6 rounds by Chris Eubank Jr. about 25, 30 years ago. That's what this is about. If we want to get to the nuts and bolts of it, because there's no beef between these two. There's no beef between Eubank and Benn. Other than a failed drugs test, there's no beef. There's no reason for these two to dislike each other. If you look, they're fucking 3 or 4, 2, 3 weight classes apart. Think about it. They're not really in the same weight class. They're not really rivals for the same belts. They're not rivals for it.
That's a good point, right? None of this really makes sense other than the name, right? The name value is the only thing that makes sense out of this whole entire situation. Other than that, yeah, it really doesn't make any sense. So yeah, shout outs to Boxing Brexit on that one.
They used Mark Stanton, bang on. If Eubank and Junior and Ben were close in age, it makes no sense. Nothing about this rivalry makes any sense. In nothing about it makes sense. They're in 2 different weight classes. They're like fucking 15 years apart in age. They come from completely different backgrounds. They never had anything. It's a joke. The whole card, the whole show is absolutely fraudulent. This is a money grab of the highest order. This is a money grab, all right? The failed drugs tests that, in my opinion, this is my opinion, right? The failed drugs tests that were incorrectly unpunished, right? The failure of the media to ask questions about what happened. Let me ask you a question now, right? Guys in the chat, has any journalist asked Conor Benn this question? Yes or no in the chat? Has any journalist asked Conor Benn, how many times have you been drug tested in the run-up to this fight, and when did those drug tests take place? Yes or no in the chat? Has any journalist asked that simple These guys come off 2 failed tests, man. Am I right or am I wrong? This man on the right has come off 2 failed drugs tests. Has anybody in the media asked a simple fucking question? How many drugs tests have you had in the last 6 to 12 months? And what were the dates of those tests? Like, it's simple ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. That I would like to know. I'd love to know. If anybody's asked that, can you let me know? Can you let me know what the answers were? I find it remarkable. I find it remarkable how somebody can fail two drugs tests, and I haven't seen one journalist ask him, "Hey, you know you've already failed 2 drugs tests, yeah? You know you're going into this big fight that you failed 2 tests for before. When was the last time you were dope tested for this fight? When were the dates of the dope tests? Are we not entitled to know how many, like, if anybody's been testing this guy? Yes or no in the chat? What do you think? Do you not think we have a right to know, like, how many times this guy's been tested? He's already failed twice. Do we not need to know how many times has he been tested? When has he been tested? Who has he been tested by? What were the results of the test? Do we not need to know that?
No,
or do we just, what? Is this guy being tested at...
No, I do not. To answer your is that Khabib's dad? It was Khabib's dad. Yes. May Allah sorry. May Allah rest his soul. May Allah accept him into heaven. And yeah, man, good times, good times. So yeah, man. What's the reason? No reason. It's just that when you have different responsibilities in life and you have different things to do, you sort of are in a different, trajectory in your life. So yeah, I went to school, I finished and got a degree. Went into a different world after that, and now I'm sort of still in that world, thanks to you guys, due to MMA, right? Due to MMA content. So I enjoy doing that. I enjoy talking about it. And you know what? Those were great experiences that I've had in MMA, right? Oftentimes, what happens is that when you have, hold on a second here, when you have a situation where, hold on a second. Sorry here. Yo, you don't. Yo, you don't got no cheeks. I don't understand what you mean by that, HM. But on any regard, yeah, yeah, you just have a different, different trajectory in life. Competing is not something that you do forever. But also, there's a lot of brain damages that are involved. That you look, man. I've trained with some guys that have had serious brain damage, and it's completely irreversible, right? So bro has hands. Yeah, shout out to you, my man. You know what I'm saying? They're like, saying I got hands. That's what's up, man. You know, what else? What else do we have going on? Guys like Nam Fam. I've trained with Nam Fam before. How about that? Toxic gameplays. I have trained with Nam Fam before. I've been around Nam Fam. I've been around him when he was coherent and at 100%. And now he's just a shell of his old self, right? You know what? It's gotten to the point where even though I've trained with him a few times and we are not like best buds or anything like that. He's just somebody that I've ran across before, right? And so yeah, he can't form a sentence, right? He can't probably even remember who I am. So, you know what I mean? That's maybe he can, maybe he can't, but if he starts not remembering his family members, that's when it gets really bad. Now look at BJ Penn. Now that is some real horrible stuff going on right there with yeah, man, with BJ Penn. He's thinking that his family are CIA plants or something like that, right? And again, he might not be that wrong, right? Chael Sonnen made a video about that, right? He said at the end of the video, you know how Chael does with his videos, at the end of it, he drops it like, well, make sure you're not the one that's being fooled. You know how Chael is, right? What do we got here? And so, yeah, man, what if we are the ones being fooled and not BJ? That's a great possibility. But again, one never truly knows, right? One never truly knows. But yeah, it's bad either way. It's bad for Damn Fam. It's bad for BJ Penn. And this is what happens when you stay too long in the fight game. That's why shout out to Dan Hardy, right? He figured, like I did, you know what? Instead of going out there and damaging yourself in a very dangerous sport, why not make yourself useful when you have a brain for the sport? And that's the reason why I'm doing MMA podcasting. How do you think Nam ended like that? A lot of hard sparring. Nam Fam has been in a lot of hard sparring sessions. I've been in those hard sparring sessions with him before. So I think it's just a result of that. A lot of guys leave their careers in the training room, me included, right? It's just what it is. Some of the most fiercest fights that I've had was in the training room more than it is in the cage or in the actual ring. So keep that in perspective, right? That knockout by Condit is so brutal and hard to watch, yet beautiful at the same time. Are you talking about the Dan Hardy knockout where they both swung at each other at the same time and Dan Hardy got the worst end of it? Yeah, I wonder what would happen if Dan Hardy got the best. Okay, so that's what you mean, Love Bug. Okay, so how should a fighter prevent this type of damage? Good footwork, head movement, and good defense. See, Billy Joe Saunders used to say that, he would spar a lot because he had very good head movement. Now, obviously, probably not as good now after Canelo damaged him, and then just the long term of not training for a long time, I think may have, something to do with that. So, on any regard, yeah, I think that's really all there is to it. Is you got to have good defense. You got to be able to know how to mitigate danger. Um, but that's what, that's also the reason why Max Holloway doesn't spar, right? He doesn't spar at all because let's just be honest, right? I think that you really leave a lot in the sparring room. So what does he do? He goes and just tries to uh, not spar and then just leave it all out in the cage, and he does quite fairly well without sparring. So that's something to think about. Hard sparring, toxic gameplay says. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, right? The Thais and the Cubans, and in particular the Cubans in Cuban boxing, are very good at having a playful type of sparring. You see, if you notice in Cuban boxing gyms, they would have guys plastered all across the ring, all across the mats outside of the ring, and they would just play spar with each other, right? Little love taps here and there. All right, you know what? I'm going to try to throw this jab right here. I'm going to throw you here. I'm going to block. I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like just being playful. The same thing with Thai. The Thai fighters, they are very playful in the way that they spar as well. Also, the same thing in Soviet style wrestling, which is what you see implemented in modern day Russian wrestling right now. Right? They're very light with each other, and they go in Russian wrestling, they go for about an hour, right? Just light drills here and there, and then they'll do a hard sparring or a hard roll in wrestling within maybe like the last 5 or 10 minutes of the training session. And that's what they would do. They would work on technique all hour long, and then after 1 hour, they would go and then what do you call it? Have a live hard one. So Toxic Gameplay says here in the ATL, the experienced guys just beat the F out of the guys that they know they can't hurt them. Yeah, it's crazy that you mentioned this before, right? The toxic gym culture that they have in ATL, right? I think there is something that is not beneficial to that type of way of training. I think there is something that is damaging in that particular matter, right? Like you're preventing a lot of people that could have future potential in your gym just by hurting them. Uh, I remember I was at a Muay Thai gym. They brought in this Russian kid who was a boxing champion, right? So he got a Muay Thai fight, knocked out this kid in the first round, right? Very inexperienced. And little did they know how experienced of a combat athlete this boxer was. So you could imagine that kid's will was broken after that, and he never came back. So in the ATL, okay, we read that. I remember this pro beat the F out of this guy who had been boxing for 3 weeks just for his IG. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a very toxic, gym culture right there, right? I don't know what it is with dudes wanting to film, sparring sessions, and we've talked about this in the last, in the last live stream. I said, dog, we talk about practice. You know what I mean? They talking about practice, dog. We talking about practice. Lovebug says, what happened to Sean Shirk? I don't know. You know what? Let's look up what happened to Sean Shirk. That's a very good question, Lovebug. Right? Bringing up all these old names that I never really thought about. And let's see where he's at right now. So does Sean Shirk have a social media page? Okay, so he does have an Instagram. Let's take a look at and see what is going on in his Instagram. Let's see. Okay, so he's not a very active Instagram right here. The muscle. No, this can't. Followed by Tony Ferguson. Is this the right Sean Shirk? Oh wow, it is. Okay, because he's being followed by GSP and Tony Ferguson right here, and he only has 1,002 followers. So whatever happened to Sean Shirk, I'll show you right now, right? This is his latest, and this picture is as old as, how old was this picture? Right here, 2014. 2014, that's how old this picture is with Sean Shirk. Another one right here, here's him with a fan, 2014. Another one with a fan, 2014. So this guy hasn't been active in the UFC for a long time. And not only has he not been active in the UFC for a long time, he's also been very inactive in social media. So we don't know. We don't know what it is that Sean Shirk is doing right now. He could be living his life, having a normal business, having a normal career, living off of his legendary status as a UFC fighter. Although I don't know what kind of uh, monetary gains he could make out of being a former world champion in an era where there wasn't a lot of money for MMA fighters. Let me give this guy a follow right here. Shout out to you. Now you got me becoming one of Sean Shirk's followers right here. And he doesn't really have a lot of followers, only 1,200 followers. And remember, this was at an era where mixed martial arts marketing wasn't really that prominent then. So just something for you to think about in that regard, right? So yeah, so that's what happened with Sean Shirk, right? A lot of these guys, right, who are former UFC legends, RIP Sam Kellerman 20 years ago. Who is Sam Kellerman again? Remind me who that is. Toxic Gameplays. Let me see who that is right here. Sam Kellerman. Who is that? American football player. Oh, okay. The brother of Max Kellerman. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. We're talking about this fellow right here. Look at Max Kellerman's style and get down, right? He looked kind of hood back in the days. You know what I mean? He has a little bit of that like hood Italian Northeast mentality about him, So, okay. Yeah, so that's okay. So that's who Sam Kellerman is. I knew the name sounded familiar, but yeah, I knew that Max Kellerman had a brother, but I forgot that it was Sam. Yeah, he was killed by a friend he tried to kick out of his house. Wow, yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So let's read some of Yeah, look, I like how you guys bring me into all these different topics and situations at hand to talk about here. Uh, Imagine we get to watch Shirk versus Gomi in their prime. Did they fight Gomi and Sean Shirk? Let's take a look at Sean Shirk's record here because these fights were so long ago that you'd have to. He's now 51 years old, by the way. Sean Shirk is now 51 years old. Okay, Evan Dunham was his last fight. That was in 2010. He lost to Frankie Edgar by a decision in UFC 98. Tyson Griffin, uh, BJ Penn. Yeah, that was the famous lightweight fight that he had. This is why, bro, you can't let friends crash at your place for a very long time. Yes, yes, very true. Oh wow, okay, so he never fought Gomi. Yeah, he never fought Gomi. Okay, that would be a good fight. He did fight Tiki Gosin, which is a former coach of Rampage Jackson. Karo Parisian, right, the Armenian judoka guy. Okay, so he's got a win over him twice. Won by a decision. Okay, so Manny Gamburian. Wow, man, he fought a lot of top Armenian dudes, right? Now, how would Sean Shirk do against Armin Sarukian in their prime? Now, that is the question right there. Uh, NGL Kyrie, I thought you just dabbled into martial arts. I didn't know you were a killer. NGL, what does NGL stand for? Shout out to that comment, by the way. I didn't know you were a killer. Yeah, man. That's the thing, right? 50 Cent once said in a song, he's like, well, you don't sound like a killer. Well, how a killer sound? Uh, Bet I'll bring a four down and back that ass down. Something like that. Yeah, but you know, yeah, how would you know how somebody if somebody's a killer or not, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like I think a lot of people think I'm very unassuming. Look, obviously, I have the size and the look, to look intimidating, right? But I think having a posh accent or sounding square or sounding proper, I think really makes people think that I'm not, you know, um, that I'm unassuming. So, bro, you got a very unassuming kind of peaceful demeanor about you. Well, wouldn't you say most killers are like that? Wouldn't you say most tough guys are like that? I mean, look, don't get it twisted. There are moments where I will go and act out and and try to act like I'm the big man of the room, I'm the Suge Knight of the room, or this and that. I have moments like that, but for the most part, if I'm interacting with people in a wholesome conversation where there's nothing to prove and there's nothing to go off of any conflict over, then of course I'm going to act accordingly. So like you lead with your intellect. Yes, that's what it is. Lead with intellect first, and then and then have the bullshit to follow afterwards, I suppose, right? So, yeah, we're almost at 1,000 views on this live stream. Once this video hits 1,000 views, I'm going to call it a day, or just continue on with this Eubank failing to make weight coverage.
So, has he been tested?
Toxic Love Bug says, which fighter you think is very underrated besides DJ? Brandon Moreno is very underrated. If we can keep it within that weight class, he's very underrated. Who else is very underrated right now that I think is worth? Ian Gary is very underrated. Now, we all know that Ian Gary is very good. And by the way, this is sort of leading into the fight tomorrow. I think Ian Gary's whole entire controversial lifestyle outside of the cage, I think, makes people forget that. For me, it's T-Bow. Well, I can see why you say that, Love Bug, because he did give Khabib a very tough fight, but he gave Khabib a tough fight under the reality of steroid use. Okay, Paddy Pimblett was cooler when people thought he was a psychotic. Well, what makes Paddy less psychotic now? Toxic Gameplays. I mean, he's still the same Paddy. I think that the more famous, the more well-known somebody gets, we tend to forget how crazy they are. Just like Conor McGregor, right? All of a sudden, Conor McGregor becomes this person, right? He becomes this, how do I say this? This psychotic figure to a lot of people, but people forget that he was really not that different before all this, right? It just so happens that maybe he was a little bit more destitute, a little bit more poor. So as a result of that, maybe he didn't have the same arrogance that he can display now. And yeah, there's a lot going on there, But yeah, Patty's always been psychotic, I think, in my opinion. Look, let me tell you about Liverpool, right? I got some homies from that part of the world in Liverpool, England, right? Because they got some real gangsters in that part of the world. Think about this, right? Liverpool has the number one selling Lexus dealership in all of England, but Liverpool also has the highest unemployment rate in England. Now, tell me how that math is mathing up. Number one dealership, Lexus, in all of the UK, yet also number one in unemployment statistics. Lovebug says too much access of white powder since he has money now, and I think Lovebug is referring to Conor McGregor. Very true. That's really what it comes down to. Is all that white powder that he has going on for him. So all right,
it's pathetic, and we're letting this guy who's already failed 2 fucking tests, right? He's already failed 2 fucking tests. Are we gonna let him jump in the ring, tomorrow night? And punch a weight-drained opponent in the fucking back of the head. Is that what we're going to allow tomorrow, yeah? That's what we're going to allow. We're going to allow somebody who's failed 2...
Either way, I'm still excited for the fight, though. I'm still hyped up for the fight either way. And it does sound bad the way that he conveys that, right? Well, you're going to let a steroid cheat punch somebody that is dehydrated in the brain. And by the way, Chris Eubank has mentioned this plenty of times before. Where does Eubank Sr. say this? Okay, where does he say this right here? No, Sky News 0.5. Billy Joe Saunders. Oh, wow. They got Billy Joe Saunders already reacting to this. I was going to pull up a video of Eubank Sr. saying that this was very unsafe for him to do so, but here's IFL right now with Billy Joe Saunders. Let's react to this real quick. Let's hear what Billy Joe Saunders has to say about this.
One for my work. 3 guys. Just one. 4.
Who's on the phone? How are you, Bill?
Is your signal okay, Kevin?
My signal is fine. How is yours?
All right. So we got Billy Joe Saunders on the phone talking to Kugan Cassius.
My signal's fine. I struggled just to hear you there a little bit, but carry on, bro.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah!
It's up. Right, Bill, let's jump straight into it. Obviously, reports from yesterday that you will be overseeing the hand wraps of Chris Eubank Jr. for his fight with Conor Benn. Just talk to me about how this even come about.
Wow. Breaking news. Billy Joe Saunders is going to oversee the hand wrapping of Chris Eubank Sr. Former rivals, a guy who has a win over Chris Eubank. They're going to see each other in the locker room. This is going to get really interesting.
Me and Conor get on very well. We had a conversation. A few tactics. What I've put forward. And obviously the stacking situation, because we know Eubank stacks his hands, and I pointed that out to him, and we're going to try to obviously.
Lovebug asks, what is the cause for John Fitch's downfall? He fell pretty bad from top to the very bottom. So it started with a Johnny Hendricks fight. Obviously, Johnny Hendricks was on steroids. He laid him out. And once he got laid out, I mean, it was like a recipe for the UFC to let him go straight away, right? By the way, shout out to John Fitch. I've talked to John Fitch quite a few times before. So, John Jones needs to lose. So let's take a look at where it all ended to sort of answer Lovebug's question, right? Okay, so if we look at John Fitch, his last loss was against Neiman Gracie. He got heel hooked. Before that, he went to a draw not too long ago with Rory McDonald in UFC. I'm sorry, in not UFC. It was in Bellator 220 at April 2019. Wow. So it's going to be 1 year or a couple of year anniversary of that fight, like a 6-year anniversary to that fight. So he's got a win over Paul Daly. Okay, that's a very good win at the end of his career. Obviously, not a very good loss against Neiman Gracie getting heel hooked like that, Brian Foster. But let's go down to his UFC um, career, right? So there's the John Fitch loss that I was telling you about. Then he gets a win by Silva. Uh, okay, that was his last UFC win, Damian Maia. Once he loses that one, right, he gets a boring decision against Silva, another boring one against Damian Maia, but then gets signed to the Professional Fighters League, which back then was known as the World Series of Fighting. Gets submitted, and then more World Series fights all the way up to the 16s, and so yeah. Look, he didn't really have a downfall, sort of say, right? He had a normal career trajectory where he won some, he lost some, and from 2015 to 2018, he had a win streak going on here, right? Yushin Okami, uh, Zefrano, and then Jake Shields. He's got a win over Jake Shields, Brian Foster, and then Paul Daly. And then obviously the draw against Rory McDonald was not that bad, right? When Toxic Gameplay says John Jones needs to lose. So here's the thing. I think a lot of people want to see him lose for the same similar reason why a lot of people were really sick and tired of seeing John Cena win over and over and over and over again, right? They were really getting sick and tired of it. So we're getting sick and tired of people that win all the time. Tom Brady, right? We got sick and tired of him because he kept winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl. Michael Jordan, at some point, I guess some people, if you weren't a Bulls fan, you got sick and tired of. We all get sick and tired of people that win over and over again, and it's even worse if you got a bad background like John Jones has. Now it's like easier for people to want to see him downfall as a result of that.
Don't test. I have had no idea. We don't know how many times this guy's been tested. But all I know is a bunch of promoters are going to let this guy jump in the ring and punch a weight-drained man in the head tomorrow night.
I'm not from the U.S., but I heard Cena is a Chinese spy. I heard that too. Is that true? No, but he does seem very favorable towards China, and I think the reason why is because of the market that they bring to the WWE. And I think he knows that there are some lucrative options for him in China, whether that would be some movies or whether that would be some sort of collaboration that would go well for his pockets.
Yeah. When there's big question marks about what's in this guy's system, it just shows you how fucking disgusting this is. And it just shows you how fucking desperate, yeah, all involved are. And that's what this fight is about. Do you know what the tagline for this fight should be, guys? Desperation. Desperados. That's what you call this.
So is that what it is, right? Is this fight a desperation for not only the promoters, but also for people everywhere that's involved, including Eubank and Ben? Because Ben needs this fight to fight a top-ranked opponent, and Eubanks needs this fight against Ben because he's a big name and he can garner a lot of positive attention that would be great for his pockets as well.
Desperados. It's a joke. Desperados. No wonder Eubank Sr. wants no fucking part of this fight. He wants no part of it. Scott says it's a money grab. So what if the fighters are getting paid? And
that's exactly why Eubank Sr. has been complaining vehemently about this fight over and over again. And yeah, this is no different.
What? Josh Ford says about Conor Benn's drug testing, they're not allowed to ask him about anything, only fawn all over him or they'll be. I mean, look, you want to talk about fraudulent? Can somebody explain to me this Ring Magazine belt? What's this doing in the middle of the two fighters? What's this? What's this? Ring Magazine Award World Championship.
Yeah, what's up with that, right? There's a Ring Magazine belt, but I don't think it's an official title. Look, a lot of titles are not really that official, right? Like, the UFC belt is not an official title. Neither is a BMF belt. It's the promotions belt. However, the belts that they have in boxing are actual sanctioning bodies, which are contested and are an independent of the organization and the promotions. But this right here, this belt that let me show you. Right here, this belt that they have going on, this belt is really no different than having a BMF belt. Okay, if you really want to put that in perspective. So
can somebody explain to me what kind of what kind of world titles on the line for this fraudulent fight? Can you see this crappy, this fraudulent Ring Magazine, bro?
okay, so let's go back to Billy Joe Saunders and what he had said about wrapping up Chris Eubank's hand wraps, or at least inspecting it. Why aren't there more SEA fighters in the UFC? SEA fighters, Southeast Asian fighters, you mean, right? Is that what you mean, Southeast Asian fighters? Well, there's Jubilee. That's about it. I think just the resources, it's not a priority in that part of the world, right? It's so maybe that's probably the reason why. Uh, Obviously, a lot of Southeast Asians get into different professions. Being a doctor, being an engineer, being an IT tech. So it's sort of hard for them to have one particular person or a group of people that are fighting in that level, because why would you want to risk yourself fighting at that level if you have a nice cozy job as an IT tech, right? This is the dilemma that a lot of Southeast Asians sort of go through. But there are special cases like Jubilee. He is sort of a developing talent, and it remains to be seen how far he can go with that.
To make sure that don't happen. I know we've got people under the watch for our watching hands get wrapped, but sometimes in this sport it goes unnoticed unless you've got an eye for it. So yeah.
All right. So is this a bit of a psychological play from?
No, this is about look. We're all.
So they're asking, is this a psychological play for Chris Eubank? I'm sorry, for Conor Benn to have Chris Eubank be inspected by Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders, no, it has nothing to do with mind games or anything like that. You just have to have a trained and educated eye to look out what you need to look out for. By the way, after this video, I'm going to cut this live stream, so stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us react to Billy Joe Saunders now becoming an official hand wrap overseer of Chris Eubank for the Conor Benn fight. Lovebug says Dana versus Chatri in MMA. Who has the upper hand? Maybe Chatri. I think he's more of a full-time martial artist than Dana White. Dana White is in great shape, but not exactly a well-rounded martial artist, although you never know. But I don't know. I don't think Dana really puts in that kind of time and training for MMA. I mean, he stays in shape, he works out, but not at a functional matter of being a fighter to that degree. So
to the sport, it's the only, it's a combat sport. It's a sport you can legally get killed in. So we're just trying to keep safety measures to the best, obviously, Conor's advantage.
What have you made today, Bill, outside of that? What have you made today of Chris Eubank Jr. coming in slightly overweight? He's obviously got to pay a penalty of around $500,000, which is, I think, 375 grand in English. What have you made of that situation?
I've made of that situation, he's very, very tight at the weight. As we see in the Liam Smith fight, I think that's the reason why the first fight got knocked out, is because obviously that played a big factor. Now, clearly, it's the same factor at 160.
So he's saying that Eubank getting knocked out by Liam has a lot to do with the weight cutting, and he sees no different in this one.
I just think that the weight here is chucked a big spanner in the works here for Eubank, because now is he gonna be rehydrated with only the £10 gain? He's clearly struggling now. I mean, look, if he rehydrates within fluid alone, he's going to put that on. Let alone he's got to eat his meals, his 3-4 meals, for tomorrow. That's the big killer with something like this. I mean, I know Conor Benn's jumped up 2 weight classes, but however, putting a £7 clause on him, like £10 clause on him here, with him coming overweight, that's gone in Conor Benn's favour.
Do you think Eubank will make that £10 for tomorrow, which I think that's in the morning at some point? If he goes over that £10 limit, then he's got to pay another fine.
Well, he's going to try to make it, obviously. I think that he'll be thinking to himself, look, we'll see how it goes. I don't know what the clause is if he comes in £4, £5, £6 over the 170. I mean, is that more money? I don't know. Because I haven't seen the contract. However, he's going to...
I got to tell you, I think all this leads to the advantage of Chris Eubank. And when and if he wins, they're going to say that he's a weight bully, and this is the only reason why he won. There's a lot of excuses that are being put into this, but at least, Conor Benn is getting compensated for it in a very, very expensive manner.
Be a struggle for him to maintain the £10 for tomorrow morning. That's facts.
Bill, are you certain that there's no issues with you being able to go into the dressing room? Do you think you might be stopped from Team Eubank, or can that happen? Do you know all this stuff, or not yet?
I just think that obviously, look, we can all pick someone out. If I'm there and I'm his rap inspector from Connor's team, then it's one of them. I don't think there's a lot really he can say about it. Look, they can obviously deny to go to the dressing room and not happy with it.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see if the team of Eubank will somehow prevent Billy Joe Saunders from entering the dressing room, right? If they would give him any type of resistance or some sort of static in any kind of way, that would be interesting.
And some other person may go in there, but however, look, I'm there, and he's asked me to do a job, and I certainly would have put myself forward and do that for him because he's asked me to, and then we'll go from there. But there shouldn't be no problems because everybody here we're trying to keep the sport as fair as we can, obviously.
I did ask Chris Eubank yesterday about this potential situation of you going into there to check the hand wraps, and he said he doesn't care if it's you or Donald Trump. It's not going to change the outcome of the fight. That's what
Eubank said. He said it himself. If he don't care and it's not, it ain't going to affect him, then clearly let it.
He said he doesn't care who walks in that dressing room, even if it's Donald Trump.
Happened,
And so, in other words, what Eubank is proclaiming is that he will have no problem having Billy Joe Saunders check his hand wraps because it's not going to alter the results of the fight.
I've got no problem about doing it. Let's just make sure that it's all kept fair and square because, Eubank, he's old in the tooth in the game. And, he knows a few tricks around the sport, as I well know. So, hopefully there's no problems and, someone fairly going to inspect it. I'm not going to go there and antagonise him.
Just a quick...
He said he's not going to go there and antagonize him. Yeah, you will. You're going to go in there and antagonize him. Billy Joe Saunders, Mr. I threw a chicken at Deontay Wilder from Nando's during the Tyson Fury press conference.
A couple of things before I let you go, Bill. What do you think actually happens tomorrow night at Tottenham? How do you see it playing out?
Chris Eubank Jr.
The way in today has just made me even lean more towards Conor Benn because look, Conor Benn can punch. And all right, Eubank, there's a big talk here about weight, how big he is. Look, I think Conor Benn will get in the ring 166, 167 maybe. He ain't struggled for the weight, and I think that this here is sort of played an advantage right into Conor Benn's hand. I'm just going to have to pick Conor Benn on the weight issue alone here now. I mean, that's completely put it, my decision in this direction because it's going to be a hard slog. I mean, look, every fighter knows when you're struggling for the weight, the first thing you've got to fight is the scales. He's lost that fight. Now he's got the biggest fight tomorrow night, and I just think that, that there is going to...
9090 says, what do you think about Hassanzada situation? I don't know much about it. If you care to educate me on that matter, I would love to comment on it. But for now, I don't really know much about that situation. But please educate me on that matter, 9090.
Apparently his brain, he couldn't make the weight. He's tried to make it. He hasn't come in 4, 5, 6 pound over. He's tried to make the weight and he's failed. Yesterday, he was very output there that, you know, the biggest fight was, you know, family issues and not the scales. That's the easy part. Well, if that's the easy part and you've lost that part, then you're in trouble.
All right, well, listen, just before I let you go, last one, I've got to ask you, there were a few whispers over the last month that we are possibly going to see a ring return from you. You have been out of the ring for quite some time now.
And of course, Billy Joe Saunders is talking about his ring return here.
Can you make any comment on that?
Just, you know, at the moment we're in talks with Frank Warren and we're going to see where that goes. And depending on, obviously, you know, people's deals and what we can do and, you know, moving forward, it's certainly that I'm open for talking. And, you know, we've got another meeting next week, I believe. So I'll better update more.
So if we were betting,
all right, so we got Billy Joe Saunders coming back soon.
People will bet on you getting in the ring this year at some point.
Oh, I'd say that, you know, you're in for a good shake of the dice of your money, yeah.
All right, no problem. Well, Bill, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at top.
All right, so let me show you this video of Chris Eubank right here.
Yeah, was a fantastic fighter, is a fantastic fighter, but he's too heavy. Okay, he is a 168-pound fighter. For him to get down to 160 now is too much for him. So Conor would be fighting someone who has lost his punch resistance, which was proven with this Mr. Smith. Again, I don't talk against my son. I'm there to protect him because I know how dangerous this young man is in Conor Benn. I know how dangerous he is. 147 fights, 147. Leave Junior alone. Yeah. Chris Eubank Jr. is...
All right, so he obviously understands how dangerous he is, and the weight advantage or the weight disadvantage that he has having a drain here is going to factor in the fact that Conor Benn is a very dangerous puncher. 9090 says he was supposed to fight on this weekend's card, but he was arrested for... Oh, okay. Let me see if I can look up his name here. Hassan Zada. Ahmed Hassan Zada. Okay. So lightweight division. Okay. And he was supposed to... Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So, okay, this is what we have right here. Okay, this is what we're talking about right here. Okay. Ex-UFC signee Hassanda facing 6 counts of child crimes, co-defendant named. Okay, so now former UFC signee Ahmed Hassanda is now facing 6 felony counts of lewd and lascivious acts with children. Tuesday, Hassanda appeared in Sacramento court. Oh, wow. Okay, and waived his arraignment in anticipation of bail and pretrial release hearing now scheduled for April 30th. Hassan Zada faces 4 counts of lewd or lascivious acts with a child victim who is 14 or 15, with the defendant being 10 years older. 2 counts of lewd acts with children under 14. Judge Benjamin Cassidy revealed the timeline of the accusation that triggered Hassan Zada's arrest in February 9th, 2024, and February 27, 2024, was represented by public defender attorney Stacey Ross Jackson. Oh, co-defendant. He's got a co-defendant. Kairola Kakwar appeared in court with Hassanda and faces a felony counts of lewd acts. Okay, we mentioned that. And Kalar is also an amateur fighter, according to Topology. Okay, Cassidy revealed that the timeline accused triggered was arrested December, and bail for each man is $400,000. Online records further details of the case have been revealed on time. Hacienda and Karkar remain in custody. Online records show both Hacienda and Karkar were arrested Saturday following the news of Hassan Zada's arrest. The UFC confirmed the company had severed ties with him. He had previously been removed from his debut scheduled Saturday versus Evan Elder. Okay, and that right there is the news that 9090. Shout out to 9090 who brought that attention up to me. Right now, I've heard about this, right, but I don't know. I don't know if it was enough for people to really pay attention to make a video about. But yeah, I might just have to make a video on this one. I heard from someone that this case has been going on for over a year, and it's some text messages. But it's funny how everyone is already calling him a pedo, coming to a conclusion. Okay, so now 9090 just brought in a whole different perspective into this, right? So obviously, we read the news, we seen the news, and we see what it's about. So we got to ask ourselves, okay, did this guy really do it? Now, it doesn't look good either way. Whenever you get accused of child trafficking or anything that deals with children in any kind of capacity, it doesn't look good. Now, I will say there are cases where certain situations can be, how do I say this? Really gray lines. Okay, there's a lot of gray lines in certain cases. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you're a 19-year-old college student, right? And then you meet someone who's 17. Those types of cases, right? Where it gets very ambiguous. Now, with this one, you're talking about a man who is in his mid-20s text messaging somebody who's 15 and 14, or sometimes even way under than that. And we don't know the exact details to everything. All we know is that this guy is in trouble. This guy is in custody at the current moment, along with another co-defendant who's also an MMA fighter, who's also fighting out of Sacramento. Again, there's so many things to this, right? And then, of course, it doesn't help that they are Muslims. So that alone is going to give some ammo to a lot of xenophobic people out there. But on any regard, we don't know too much about these details. It's disgusting either way, right? I don't want to jump into conclusions, but at the same time, man, where there's smoke, there is fire, and it doesn't look good whatsoever. Let's see if we can get more details on this particular subject. Let me see. There's not one. This is MMA Junkie that has covered this. Let me see who else has covered this particular news. So Sports Illustrated has also covered this news. CBS News has also covered this sport. Okay, Kansas City is down one fight this weekend following the news of a debutant that's been arrested. So he is a Dana White Contender Series graduate. Ahmad Hassanzada was arrested on April 18th, which was just about 7 days ago. Police reports from Sacramento County Sheriff accuse Hassanzada of sexual violence against a minor. Okay, he is being charged with 2 felonies. Lewd, okay, we mentioned that in $400,000 bail. Hassan's replacement is Gage Young, who will take on Evan Elder on that night. Now, I would, man, imagine if whoever the winner is of Gage Young and Evan Elder, imagine if he went out and said something about this particular subject. Hey, you know, I'm out here, I'm not a pedo, or this and that, F this pedo. Imagine if he got on mic saying that. 99 says, I'm not defending him. I think he did it because he's this. I'm not defending him. I think if he did it, he's disgusting but innocent until proven guilty. Correct. That's the best approach to this particular matter is, yes, you just have to approach it in a way where we're all innocent until proven guilty. So in a statement given to MMA Mania, UFC officials explained Hassanzada has been removed from his bout and is no longer signed with the UFC. Okay, and so this was written by Matthew Riddle of Sports Illustrated. So that is from Sports Illustrated. Let's see other news that covered this. Yahoo Sports, CBS News. Let's go with CBS News first, okay? So here's another picture of this brother right here, or the alleged child molester. So, okay, so the Sacramento fighter set to make debut was arrested in Sacramento. Sacramento police confirmed Ahmed Hazan has turned himself in following an investigation. Okay, so he's turned himself in. This is something the other news outlets have not talked about. I thought you might have heard something about it since you're from Sacramento. That's why I brought it up. I did hear about it, and I know that he's a member of Team Alpha Male. Look, here's the thing, man. I just didn't think that there would be interest for this, right? Now, obviously, if somebody brings it up on the chat like you did, of course I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to deny, a listener of what it is that they want to talk about, because by the end of the day, we do this for the listeners, right? We do this for views, and I don't know how much interest somebody who's never fought in the UFC would gain out of this, right? Now imagine if Conor McGregor did this, or if, God forbid, Derek Lewis did this, it would be all over the news, right? But this is not Derek Lewis. This is not Conor McGregor. This is somebody who's a UFC debutant, and quite frankly, somebody that plays or trains with a team that I'm very familiar with. And the last thing I'm trying to do is humiliate that team to any capacity. But since you bring it up, let's just be honest. This has nothing to do with Team Alpha Male. This has nothing to do with the city of Sacramento. And more importantly, it has nothing to do with Muslims, period. So just something to think about. So he was 28 years old, set to make his UFC debut. Yes, he's a member of Team Alpha Male, which is located in Sacramento. And yeah, that is what we have for CBS News. Now, we didn't know that he turned himself in. That's something that the other news hasn't talked about. Let's hear what Yahoo Sports has to say about this, right? Okay, so here we go. Let's hear what Yahoo Sports has to say about this. Mixed martial arts fighter been charged with sex crimes before he was scheduled for his UFC debut. Ahmad Hassanzada was scheduled to make his official debut in the octagon this coming Saturday as a winner of Dana White's Contender Series. At 28 years old, he is facing 2 felony charges. So SAC PD has not offered any official details. It's a sensitive nature. However, the department spokesman confirmed to the Sacramento Bee the charges stem from probe launch as early as last year. And in the bail, we've talked about he was scheduled to face Mitch Ramirez. Is that right? Okay, they have a different account in different websites, so I don't know. Okay, so his debut is listed. Okay, Asanda's UFC debut, which won him a contract. Okay, so that's pretty much what we got out of that situation right there, right? That's what we have for this man right here. What else do we have here? I think that's about it. Look, okay, so final thoughts on this particular subject matter at hand, right? Here's the final thoughts on this particular subject. Look, we're all innocent until proven guilty, but when it comes to messing with kids, bro, listen, it's hard to be objectively fair. And we have to be objectively fair because we don't know if these accusations are correct or not. Now, what I find interesting is that he turned himself in. If I knew that I didn't do anything wrong, I'm not going to turn myself in. Now, he decided to turn himself in for one reason or another. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's because of the fact that he just wants to get his fair trial and this and that. But either way, this is not looking good. This is why I was hesitant to talk about this, because it's not good for the organization of Team Alpha Male. It's not good for Muslims, although one can argue what his particular religious practices is. I mean, a guy has a tattoo, for crying out loud. I mean, he's supposed to be a Muslim. Look, I got a tattoo, but I'll be honest with you, that's all before I really delved into becoming a Muslim, right? And becoming a practicing Muslim at that. But this guy is a born Muslim, has a tattoo, so that's just suspicious in and of itself. Being accused of this is very suspicious, even though you didn't do it, okay, supposedly or allegedly. It still doesn't look good that you're hanging out with minors. Now, to what extent is he hanging out with minors? Here's something you got to understand, right? When you're in an MMA gym, you're training with different people of different skill levels and different ages. So you are going to run across people that are young, right? But at what capacity, and at what capacity are you supposed to limit your relationship with people that are that young before people accuse you of, doing things that are as heinous as this? um, Bro, these streamers are racist. What do you mean by that? Toxic gameplays. Are you talking about the fact that they may try to use this as some sort of like racial implication or some sort of anti-Islamophobic rhetoric? Let me know what you mean by that. But on any regard, yeah, this is not looking good for Zanda. Hassan Zada. Okay, let me have to say that name a few more times. But yeah, Hassan Zada. Yeah, man, that's really, yeah, really sad. For, you know what? Not so much for Ahmad, because if he really did do this, he deserves jail time. Okay, but bro, another streamer just said he don't mess with. Oh, are you talking about? I don't know his name. Is he an Irish streamer? Let me know if we're talking about the same guy. But yeah, I know there's an Irish streamer that sort of espouses white nationalist views. So I don't know if we're talking about the same guy or somebody else different. No, I was just scrolling on YouTube. Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of racist streamers out there. He was a Southerner. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? This is the reason why I had decided to, sort of make a YouTube channel on this regard, right? The reason why I wanted to make a YouTube channel is because I wanted to sort of give a different outlook on how different people view MMA. Now, right now, the lens of how MMA is being viewed is through the eyes of somebody like MMA Guru, who, I mean, let's just be honest about it. He does espouse a certain level of white nationalism, which is fine if you lean in that direction and that's what you believe in. That's perfectly fine. But with those ideological settings comes a certain type of value system that you sort of hold in your worldview, which, by the way, may exclude other people to a certain level of degree or just offend people to your liking. But that's the reality of MMA streaming nowadays, is that there are people out there who espouses these views, and there's a strong majority of them. So this is why I'm trying to do something different and trying to display a different outlook and a different, a different way of approaching MMA streaming. So, all right, we talked about Eubank, $600,000 he has to pay up to Conor Benn. The fight is still going on. He still has to cut weight even at the day of the fight. He can't go over 10 pounds on the day of the fight. So he's got a lot of challenges ahead, but I still think that he is going to, I think he's still going to win regardless. He's still going to win regardless, but we shall see. We have 24 hours to determine that. And next topic at hand before I head out, we will talk about UFC Kansas City. Playboy here says on the comment section, protests will KO Ian Gary. I question that. So Anthony Smith is in his retirement fight. How appropriate. It's a fight night card in a city, major city, that is televised in a major arena. I mean, not a pay-per-view, but hey, it's a fight night, and it's perfect for Anthony Smith to sort of end his career. Ian Machado Gary, I cringe every time seeing his middle name, but he is going to KO Carlos Prates. I'm sorry, I may have to disagree with Playboy on that one. Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama, featherweight division. You got Michel Pereira. How about this? Taking on Abus Magomedov. We know him as somebody that lost to Sean Strickland. Randy Brown, okay, taking on Nicholas Dalby. That's a good fight. Ikram Ali Askarov taking on Andre Muniz in the middleweight division. That's going to start off the main card. And starting off the first fight of the evening, you're going to have Chelsea Chandler taking on Jocelyn Edwards. Timothy Kuwamba taking on Roberto Romero. Jacqueline Amorin taking on Paulie Viana. Okay, so a pretty decent card with some good names in here. Cameron Simon, South Africa's own, and Dricus du Plessis' training partner, also a guy that trained MMA Guru on the pads, taking on the undefeated Malcolm Wellmaker in the bantamweight division. 9090 says, for anyone who thinks Protest is going to KO Gary easily, I would tell them to go and watch Protest versus Giles. Exactly. Good point there. Protest was losing the fight until he caught Giles. That's a very good fight to use as an example right there. Devon Blackshear taking on Alatang Haley. 17-9-2, 16-7-1. Okay, so they both have like 50-50 records, so it's a good evenly matchup. Chris Gutierrez, 21-6-2, taking on John Castaneda, 21-7. So very equal in their experience as far as fighting. Evan Elder, 9-2, taking on Gage Young. This is the replacement fight that we were talking about with Ahmad Hassan Zada. Matt Schnell taking on Jimmy Flick, 17-8. Matt Schnell, 16-9. So once again, very even record and very even matches. And again, Ian Gary versus Carlos Protest. So we're going to leave it with this, right? Why I think Ian Gary is going to walk out with the victor on this one. So Ian Gary, you look at his last performance with the boogeyman, Shafkat. Do you think Carlos Protest can do that with Shafkat? And my answer is no. And that is the conclusion that I have for that particular topic at hand and why I think Ian Gary is going to walk out the winner on this one. So on that regard, that is all that I have for this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next topic, in the next live stream, in the next content, and in the next video, inshallah. You know what? No. Let's stay for a little bonus stream right here. Okay, we're just going to talk about any random things right now. We are on a bonus stream, and we're just going to keep this thing running till the wheels fall off. Okay, so let's see what else do we have here. Okay, let's talk about the Eubank fight. Okay, and a Conor Benn fight here real quick. Let's see here. What do we got? Okay, let's hear what Chris Eubank.
Eddie Hearn, but so I'm saying, why aren't you with Eubank Jr.? Why aren't you part of the fight week activities? Why aren't you in the corner?
Because I will not be an accomplice to their stupidity, to their circus. Junior, you're smashing an egg against this guy's face. I taught you that. I didn't teach you that. Who taught you that? Did Karen teach you that? That's disgraceful. I'm gonna send you.
Did Karen teach you that? Who is Karen? He said, hey, I didn't teach you that. Who taught you that? Did Karen teach you that? Is Karen his wife, maybe? Or I don't know. But Reese Bage says the fight should not happen. Chris Eubank Sr. is correct. That's right.
Your corner, you must be mad. You must be mad. I would never be in your corner. You're a disgrace. You're smashing an egg in someone's face, and then you're saying you're trying to justify it. There's no justification for that. There's nothing noble about that.
Eddie Hearn, but so I'm saying.
Wow. All right. So he's saying that there's nothing noble about that. That's interesting, man. Let's see.
They told me.
What else we got? Okay, so I'm not falling short. Rips into Chris Eubank. Oh, okay. Here's Eddie Hearn ripping into.
Chris Eubank Jr. misses weight. Yeah, your reaction? Yeah, very disappointed. Obviously unprofessional. You know, I mean, I know the narrative now. He puts out the videos of what he was doing today. It's his championship weight. He made the weight a few months ago in Saudi. He made the weight in the fight before that. He made the weight in the fight before that. It's his own championship weight, and he missed weight. So that's disappointing. Unprofessional, but you know, people say, "Oh, it was only half an ounce." So it doesn't matter if it's half an ounce or a pound. It's still missed weight. So I did think he'd make it, but it doesn't really matter, if I'm honest. You know, I mean, if someone misses the weight significantly, you'd start to have a worry in terms of that advantage fighting Conor Benn. You know, but it is what it is, and on we go. I know you mentioned that video, and we've seen it, and people will look and go, "Oh, I feel a bit sorry for Chris," and you know, that's not my.
Q says Eddie is a snake. Yeah. What promoter is it, right? You know what? Out of all promoters, you say that Eddie is a snake. I think all promoters are snakes, but Eddie is the least snaky out of all of them, if that makes any sense.
That's the idea of the video. But from that video, the last couple of hours of that weight making would have probably taken a bit out of him in terms of tomorrow. That's how fighters make weight, mate. I mean, unless you're completely clueless and you're not around the fight game, that's how fighters make weight. It's tough for everybody. Yes, Conor Benn is coming up 2 divisions, so he didn't have to make weight like that. Every fighter who is on the championship weight, every fighter on this card goes through a very tough process on the week of a fight to make it. Now, if you want these guys to document every time and show you how tough it is and get a little bit of sympathy when you miss weight, that's a nice narrative and it's very clever. I don't fucking fall for that. All week you're talking about how disciplined you are or how professional you are. No, you're not, because you just missed your own championship weight.
You know what? Every time somebody misses weight, it is so easy to bash the person. Especially, look, this is not the usual weight that Chris Eubank is in. And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if I should be giving him any grace period on that, or look into the fact that maybe there's a strategy behind why Chris Eubank is doing this. Remember, the more weight that he has over Conor Benn, the more advantage that he may have on the power. So it's something to think about. And by the way, most UFC fights, every time somebody doesn't make weight, guess who wins? The guy who doesn't make weight. I don't know if that's the same in boxing, but it's a growing trend that I've seen in MMA.
That's the reality. Say what you want, couldn't give monkeys. That's the truth. So you wanna gloat over what you did, but you missed weight. Do you know what I mean? Is he going to make a statement to say, just want to apologise for missing championship weight? No, of course he's not. He's going to tell you how tough it was and how he went, you know, it's bollocks. It's all bollocks. The fact is he missed weight. So what? Loads of people miss weight. But the geezer missed weight who said he's ultra disciplined, that said he's ultra professional. And it was expensive. I spoke to a couple of people downstairs who were present and they said that he wanted the weigh-in to be earlier and then he turned up late. He was quite lackadaisical about after the first weigh-in, and basically the whole thing.
He wanted the weigh-in earlier. That's interesting. I don't know if you can implement that. I think only the state commission or the jurisdiction of the commission that you are fighting under has the ability to do that.
You've got to have the right people around you. He asked for the weigh-in. The team asked for the weigh-in to be earlier last night. Then all of a sudden, today, the weigh-in's at 11. It's always been set by the British Boxing Board of Control. They said
that's what I was saying, right? It's the British Boxing Control that sort of, does that.
All fighters are weighing in at 11. Then he turned up at midday. And when you turn up late, you don't get the extra time to make the weight because that's the time of the weigh-in. So if he would have turned up at 11, he would have had that time to make the weight, an hour. He could have gone off, he could have gone for a stroll, whatever he's going to do, and it would have come off. It was small amounts. But what he did was he went into the room, he weighed, he was 2 ounces over. He took it.
I mean, we're talking about 2 ounces over now. You know what I mean? Like, But yeah.
His pant, then you take your pants off, right? Because it's going to be somewhere between an ounce to 2 ounces, right? But he wanted a towel, but he wasn't.
Matt says, Drain versus someone coming up in weight, though. What do you think is worse? Because Ben ain't looking good in his previous fights. Yeah, man. Yeah, I think they asked a lot of Chris Eubank Jr. to have all of these, hydration clauses and all of these, like catch weights that they were trying to get him in. I mean, 157, I think that was the weight that they were going for, or 160, I think was the limit. But yeah, he was like 160.2. It's not really that big.
Happy with the size of the towel. So the team went off to get a towel and took about 10 minutes while he sat there on his phone. And then came back, took his pants off, and he was 1 ounce over. Then he stood there for about another 5 minutes, and the board said, "You've got like 6 or 7 minutes." So then he put his tracksuit back on, went for a little walk around, but then had to come back almost immediately, got on the scales, and he lost another half an ounce. But he could have made the weight, I mean, not easy, because we know it's tough, but listen, some people who want to create their own narrative will say, "Oh, it's all right for you, Eddie, you're just a pro." I'm just telling you the facts. He missed his own championship weight. That's it. And by the way, people do it. But unfortunately,
when he means he missed his own championship weight, he means that you have to be 160 on the dot, right? He wasn't 160 on the dot. So that's what Eddie Hearn means when he says that he didn't make his championship weight.
In this case, it was pretty embarrassing and it was very expensive.
Just to clear up, can you rehydrate to 170 or 170.005?
170.
Okay. Can we talk about Frank Smith?
Okay, so he's only allowed 10 pounds over. He can't go over 170 after the weigh-in. So that's the hydration clause as we are learning it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like tempers are very high right now, to be honest. Like, it means a lot to everybody. And whenever you're in a mega fight, people sometimes, the head falls off a little bit. I was winding Frank up because I was like, "Oh, Frank, look, you're offering people out. It's unlike you." Do you know what I mean? But that we operate in a certain way at Matchroom, and we're pretty calm, but also we're quite passionate as well. So yeah, there was a lot of they didn't want any cameras in the room.
Was that his main source of what he was unhappy about?
Yeah, pretty much. But there was another issue with the gloves. They weren't happy with the gloves. It was like the board said the gloves are absolutely fine, and once the board do that, it's fine. You don't have a leg to stand on. So they were moaning about the gloves. They didn't like the gloves. It was like excuse after excuse. Then it was like, "Oh no cameras in the room." It's like, well, hang on a minute. Every fighter's had the cameras in the room. Plus, it's the Ring magazine. They want to cut. No. So yeah, it is what it is.
All right, that is a bit strange. Why they didn't want the cameras in the room? I am wondering what is the reason and the motivation behind that. Why would you not want a camera in the room?
It doesn't really matter. Everyone was running around, losing their heads, and he didn't make it. So
Frank was backing himself. He was like, "You keep telling me to fuck off and then turning you back."
But he did. He kept going. Was it prick? And then going off. It's like, that's the most annoying thing. You just want someone to stick you on you. He's like, prick it, running off. It's like,
maybe he's overstepped the line hard on punch. Finally, Conor Benn well out of this situation. Chris Eubank spent 475 grand before the first bell, is it? Now with the 100 grand fine and this in English pounds. Is it 475?
Yeah. We didn't have the bet really. Otherwise, we would have been fighting for nothing.
Well, what's the latest with the bet? Could he end up losing over a million?
It's Robert Smith. There's a very strict rule. Any license holder cannot bet on a fight. I can't, and I've been, that's the truth of the situation.
Yeah, he's right about that. You're not allowed to bet on a fight if you're a license holder or you're a promoter.
Don't you remember when I had Jake Paul offered me $1 million bet, right, for Taylor Serrano? Do you remember that at the press conference? And I shook his hand. I've never accepted this bet, by the way. I shook Jake Paul's hand. And then the commission said the promoters can't bet on the fight. But I never screamed and moaned about it. In fact, could have gone, "Jake, where's my $1 million?" But we didn't get the bet because the commission said no, same as this commission. So it's just a story for them. It's this whole thing. This is why I got Frank Smith on the stage yesterday, because he's got all his notes on his phone, Eubank, about what to say. Do you know what I mean?
You put a different man in the
position. Just take the script away from him, that's all. still does the same thing, but he's like, you know, I mean, he should have really.
Yeah, that's interesting yesterday, right? He used Frank Smith as a replacement substitute. Eddie Hearn did, right? And what's crazy about that is that Frank Smith is married to the sister of Chris Eubank. So I don't know if that has any correlation to anything, or if it doesn't have any correlation to anything, or if that means anything, but on any regard.
Really focus less on the bet and more on actually making weight. Do you know what I mean? And it would, you know, he would have made it easy, but it's those little percentages in the game about being professional, and he's obviously cut a corner somewhere.
Just finally, how is
wow? He said being professional in every inch, right, and saying that Chris Eubank must have cut a corner somewhere for him to not make this weight. That's an interesting thing for Eddie Hearn to say there.
156-pound Conor Benn feeling
unbelievable. Yeah, I mean,
he's like swanning around.
Yeah, he trained this
enjoying the moment.
By the way, like if you look at him, there ain't an ounce of fat on him. I mean, he's 6% body fat or something like that. He's absolutely in the shape of his life. He trained this morning, so you know he didn't want to come in heavy. Do you know, he doesn't want to feel like, oh, I'm eating my way up to 160. He wants to be razor sharp. He will be 100.
Yeah, that's a good point right there, right? Even if you're coming up a weight, you don't want to like gain too much weight where you're slow. You just want to be sharp enough. And that's sort of the biggest problem that a lot of people have moving up a weight, right? They think that moving up a weight means they can just eat what they want or this and that. To a certain extent, you can, but then you also have to sort of keep it still disciplined and, you know, and in a way where you're trying to still maintain your speed. And I think you lose a certain level of speed when you gain too much muscle or when you gain too much weight with that muscle. So
162 pounds in the ring, and Eubank will be 176. We'll be giving up a stone in the ring tomorrow night. It's a huge amount of weight to get away. Will anyone feel sorry for us? No. But it is what it is. Let's have it.
All right, so that's Eddie Hearn right there, obviously slagging off Chris Eubank based on the fact that he had missed weight. Is there a reason? Is there a good reason why he's slagging him off, or is there any excuses to this whatsoever? Obviously, look, no one's going to give you any excuse for not making weight. You've had plenty of time to do it. It's not like he's a fighter that was called here on a short notice to come and do this and then, you know, just make weight and all of that. No, he was here to make weight from 2 years ago. We're talking about 2 years ago. Let's take a look at Chris Eubank's fights since the first the first Conor Benn fight they were going to do. So let's see here. He was supposed to fight him in 22. Liam Smith and October won the vacant IBO middleweight champion. Okay, so this, I guess you could say this is an IBO middleweight fight. Maybe not. But yeah, so September 2023, they were supposed to fight and it never happened. Or I'm sorry, 22. When was that fight? Let's see here. The Eubank, Conor Benn, canceled fight. It was in 22. So this is where we started from all of this, right? In 2022, Eubank announced that he would face Conor Benn at a catch weight 157. This fight has been marked as a grudge match. Okay, so this is still at 157, not really 160. But then maybe they changed it to 160. I don't know. But yeah, this was from a rivalry in the 90s, you know, and a draw 3 years later into their second fight. The fight was scheduled to take place in October. So, okay, a lot of unfinished business here. So this is aside from all the fiasco that goes on to this whole entire fight, Joe Rogan says Khamzat versus Kayo. Is that happening, Joe Rogan? Or like as if I'm saying it like it's the real Joe Rogan. But yeah, Rogan on the comment section, is that fight happening? Is that official? And if so, is it for Kalo Bohalo, whatever his name is? Yeah. Is that fight really going on? Let me know if that is the fight that is going on anytime soon. And if so, yeah, please let me know. So, all right. So we got this fight going on tomorrow with Chris Eubank. They making decisions. Okay, so they're trying to make that decision. Okay. So we got about 24 hours left into this fight. A lot of drama going on, a lot of fiasco going on. Chris Eubank not making weight. Now, I can't lie and say that I didn't see this coming because you're talking about 157. You're asking him to go down to 157. Okay, and I don't know, man. I knew there were going to be a lot of problems going on with that. Conor McGregor versus Ice Spice tomorrow at 6. All right. Well, shout outs to Joe Hogan on that one. And with that regard, I'd like to thank everybody that has tapped in.